Welcome to Mr. Marr's 3-Minute Histories, quick summaries about a range of different historical topics. Today we're going back to one of the key events during the Nazis' time in power in Germany, and certainly one of those which helped them consolidate their power, which was the Reichstag Fire. This was in February 1933, when the Reichstag, which is Germany's parliament, was burned to the ground. Let's look at what happened before this fire to understand some of the background. At the end of January 1933, Hitler was appointed as Chancellor of Germany. However, this was as head of a coalition government, and he worried that this would limit his ability to take certain actions. As such, Hitler persuaded the German President Hindenburg to call elections, and these were due to take place in early March 1933. Hitler believed that this would give him full control of Germany, as he believed the German people would back him, and in particular he believed it would help him crush what he saw was the communist threat. However, 1 week before the election, on the 27th of February, fire was declared. At 9 o'clock that night, first reports of fire at the German parliament, the Reichstag, were made. The Birdland Fire department turned up, and by around 11:30 they had largely brought the fire under control. However, the building itself was destroyed. At this point in time, a Dutch communist who was found in the building, called Marinus Van Der Lubbe, was arrested. Hitler had been at Joseph Goebbels' house that night, and when he had phoned initially they hadn't believed that the reports of the fire were true. However, eventually Hitler and Goebbels arrived on the scene. Hitler was furious. He believed that this was the start of a communist plot to take over Germany. As such, he ordered the arrest of hundreds of communists that night, and he is said to have remarked that every communist will be shot where he is found. The following day, President Hindenburg passed a law which became known as the Reichstag Fire Decree, and played a crucial role in helping the Nazis build their power in Germany. This gave the government mass powers. They could arrest political opponents even without evidence. They could ban public protests. They were able to end the right to privacy by reading people's private letters. And they could censor or even shut down newspapers that wrote stories with which they disagreed. When the elections were eventually held, the Nazis won 44% of the vote, which strengthened their power in some ways, although not quite in the majority sense Hitler expected. There is still a historical debate about who was actually to blame for the fire. Marinus Van Der Lubbe, the communist who was found in the building on the night, went on trial. Part of the evidence against him was simply the fact he'd been found in the building, that he was carrying items such as firelighters, and that under interrogation he had admitted it was him. Van Der Lubbe was found guilty of the crime, although 4 other communists who were put on trial were found not guilty, and Van Der Lubbe was eventually beheaded for the crime. However, many people believe that because the Nazis significantly benefited from the fire, which they did both in terms of higher popularity, greater public criticism of the communists, and also the extreme powers given in the Reichstag Fire Decree, then it may have been them. There was different evidence people provided for this, including some Nazis privately claiming that they had been behind it. Historians are still divided on this, although most believe ultimately that Van Der Lubbe himself was in fact guilty and that Nazis simply exploited rather than caused the fire.